You are listening to The Material Revolution, a podcast dedicated to building a better understanding of and relationship to textiles, fibers, and resources. I am your host, Catherine Susi, and I'm sitting down with artists, designers, educators, scientists, and creative thinkers from around the globe about their specialized knowledge and experience in working with fibers, processes, techniques, and technologies with the intention to create awareness, inspire knowledge, address responsible practices, encourage creativity, and to build a material community. So I welcome you to tune in and listen to those who are contributing towards change and a material revolution. Before we dive into today's interview and content, you can find us at www.thematerialrevolution.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Material Revolution. And to view some of our video interviews, hop on over to our YouTube channel.
I'm Sylvia Calvo, and my brand is Sylvia Calvo Barcelona. We apply circular economy principles into all our designs and products. And we are in this beautiful city of the Mediterranean, where I was born, Barcelona, in Catalonia, Spain.
I was trying to think about how we first connected, and I believe it was through our mutual friend and writer Marilyn Wilson. And
Yes.
I had informed her that I was taking a trip to Barcelona a few years ago, and she was so eager to connect us. And I know I wanted to come visit your studio, but the timing didn't work out on that trip, and I regret that. But I will come visit your studio as soon as it's a possibility when it's safe to travel again.
Now flights are
Oh yeah.
very inexpensive. Now the expensive thing is the test.
I know, isn't I know it's
A test, £140. Ticket, £5.
I know, which is absolutely crazy. Just I don't want to think too much about it, but that concerns me because you can't even take a taxi in London for that.
Yeah.
But it was actually when we were both in Budapest. We actually met briefly in person, and I think
Right.
that was at the event. It was during Global Sustainable Fashion Week, and was it the Argentinian embassy where there was an event, I think?
Yes, it was.
And you
I
were
think
there
it was.
showcasing your work.
In Budapest, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's correct. That's right.
Yeah, with Gabi Wallach.
Obviously, since I was introduced to your work a couple of years ago and then becoming reacquainted with it in my research about you, I think the one thing that I thought instantly, because of my knowledge and background in textiles, was this really interesting relationship and conversation between the history of textiles and trade. Because when I think back about the early days of trade, when it came to textiles and dyes and spices, a lot of those things were considered and valued more expensive than gold at one point in time in history. And so when I think about how that evolved and the transition into all these other discoveries and different materials that were being cultivated, we'll say, and coffee was discovered, which became this new highly coveted treasure. As a coffee lover myself, and I do make coffee every morning, it's one of those resources that is a mega industry in its own right. But we don't often think about the packaging and the materials that are used in shipping as a possibility as a material resource. Just because the type of grade of material and the approach to it, it's not designed to be a luxury fiber like you would essentially buy from a wholesaler or from a mill that's producing for traditional garment making, for example. But I think when it comes to your main ingredient and the material resource that you work with, I find it interesting that you chose this material, this sack material, and you've been able to transform it into these very beautiful and simple tailored garments and accessories that really does transform and reposition the value of this material in a way that really does allow for not just a repositioning of that waste stream in the context of what you're doing, but you transform and upcycle this particular waste stream, this sack material, that I think it's important for our audience because this particular material is made from typically it's made from jute, which is a plant-based fiber, that sort of this longish bast fiber that comes from the stalk or the skin of the plant, and then it's processed and and spun into a yarn, that a robust yarn that's typically used for string or for industrially woven textiles, and is typically known as burlap to most people. And the
Right.
reason why I explain this is because the fact that it was never designed and considered a luxury fiber in a traditional sense. When it comes to developing a new language and a new reason for, or a new raison d'etre for this particular material, you've been able to bring on a whole new set of relationships, and we'll say, and I mean that in the sense that you not only have built this relationship, this new language with this material, but you're expanding upon that within your community as a whole, but I think also as a global ambassador for circular economy, which we'll get into in just a little bit. I just want to say, as I understand what you're doing, what I think is interesting and what's unique about it is your work quietly honors this history of trade and use. But I think what you're really doing is motivating and contributing to this activation of waste materials within circularity. But I also think that you're allowing for the process of upcycling and recycling. You're actually contributing to the change in the language around this. I know we were just talking about the profiling of upcycling within the major fashion world and within major streams of fashion media, but you're doing it in a way that it's creating an impact both locally within your community and globally. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you, how did you choose this particular waste stream? And I wonder, because you have such a fascinating background, it truly is. And for people who want to learn more about your background, and you can touch upon that a little bit, they can find your full bio. I'll make that all available as a link with this podcast. I'm curious to know why this material resource, and perhaps why upcycling is considered a sustainable solution.
The coffee bag, why I'm using it. When I first learned about sustainable fashion and eco fashion, was in a conference about eco, was called eco fashion, and I had no idea of all these impacts of the fashion and textile industry. I I didn't know, as many people still now know, that they're ignorant, lack of knowledge of how the social impacts, the people that are sewing in under what conditions in those production countries, of the impact of on the environment of the dyeing, the use of water, the
Mm-hmm.
pollution, and all that. I mean, I had no idea of all that. And in that conference, also they mentioned, put some examples. And one of the example was a bag made of car safety belts.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, how interesting. Those are discarded, it's a residue,
Mm-hmm.
and this person made that. And that, stick me here. So I came out of that conference, like, okay, I don't want to buy anything else till I have clear, what I want. I have plenty of things in my closet that last a lifetime if I
Mm-hmm.
don't put any weight on. And
I know that's the trick.
yeah, now that I know how to sew, now I can fix them. But before it was more difficult. So I was shocked, and the first thing it was learn and read and go to seminars, and at that time there were not that many webinars like we have nowadays, that if you want to learn now a subject, you just have to turn on your computer or your telephone because our
That's
telephones
true.
are your computers, and you have knowledge at the tip of your fingers. At that time, it wasn't not that long ago, but we didn't have all that. That was in 2012, 2012, that was. And then the other thing is like, the not all the things I have to learn, but I needed to find my residue. What was going to be my waste material that I
Mm-hmm.
was going to convert? And I tried to look around me. And at that time, we still now, I have a maritime transportation company that we do chartering. And I don't know if there, maybe I got a cargo of coffee coming by, and I said, the coffee bags, coffee comes in coffee bags. coffee bag is a natural material. Well, if I use that and then I can use it to learn how to do things and how I can maybe, you know, find my material in this residue. So I went to the harbor, Barcelona, where they have the imports of coffee, and I asked for a few coffee bags. And I brought I still remember the gentleman saying, "What do you want that for?" You know, because there were a pile there, almost like garbage, because there was too, it was a residue for them. And he says, "Well, I'm going to make dresses and stuff." And he looked at me like, this lady is absolutely crazy. And says, "Oh, okay, all right, all right." So, I grabbed those things. And I even remember one day in one of the places on a container, oval full of only coffee bags in there and cacao bags. And I was, hanging in there, in the container, looking for nice coffee bags, because they have a special beauty. They have their prints, they have their color, they have their texture. Not all the origins are the same. The ones from Uganda, they're gorgeous. Then you have the ones from India, from Vietnam, from Brazil. So there are all these different youth coffee bags with the different weaving and the different coloring and even different shine. Some of them have a shine. Actually, the jute in India, it was called the golden fiber,
That's
because
right.
for them it was a source of income. It was, and commerce. So I start, working on that, and then I still have some of my first items that I made, that I keep them, so I can remember myself, how I started, and how I to see my improvement. It's like my own test. I can see how I improve in the way that I, because that has been a trial error. No one told me how to use this. And at the beginning, people told me, says, that I was crazy, because how are you going to make things with coffee bags? Who's going to wear that? And I says, a lot of people. I had the idea, no, I'm going to make it well, and a lot of people are going to wear this. But of course, it needed to be done very well and properly made. And that has been a learning process. And I think now that, see some of my dresses
Yes, I can.
there,
Yeah. Yes.
or the jacket there. So I learned how to, and master the material and how to use it. And the best ingredient for this material is to put a lot of love. If you put your feelings, if you treat, I always say, whatever material comes into your hands, treat it like it is the most expensive silk in the world, you know. And for
Mhm.
me, my coffee bags are like a very valuable material. And that's when you treat them things with that special care and with that, and give it that value, then you can make things that are special with them, you know. And that's something that comes from your heart through your hands and to the garment.
You said something moments ago, and I just wanted to touch upon it. You made this comment about knowledge through your fingertips, like the accessibility of accessing things. And I think that's a really interesting metaphor in the sense that, when I think about the body of work, I have it in my notes here a little bit later, but I'm going to jump on it now because, when I was researching your current collection, which I absolutely I love the Abbey Road piece, and we could talk about that a little bit, and you can share about that because I actually live not far from Abbey Road here in
Oh,
London.
yes.
So yeah, so I was, but I just loved how you pushed the envelope. I want to say, and how you combined the coffee bags. And is that a cacao bag, or because it was a different weave structure? So I was trying to understand what material you used in that particular design, which you can answer in just a second. But what I thought was interesting was actually what's the looking at my notes, the T-shirt telling "Tell me something nice," because you were doing these embroidered pieces, and I think that really highlights, again, coming back to our conversation we had earlier too, around language and using, and in this case, using sewing, using the stitch to share what you want to say, what you're trying to express. So,
Uh,
can you tell me a little bit about actually how you came to develop this particular concept?
the t-shirt telling, that is a special project that I always like reading and knowledge and learning things, and I think that now with all these computer and stuff, I think we leave some of that knowledge on the side, no? For example, quantum physics or mathematics or things like this are not regarding as fun things to learn. And I thought that was a very nice way to bring that knowledge closer to people and younger people, especially, or older people like me as well, because I was not aware of that Dirac equation, which I now know. And the idea is the components is fashion. We have the t-shirt, the textile, we have the knowledge, the saying, the Dirac's equation, and what is behind that we will get in a second, and the technology. So we have the acquisition of knowledge through the technology, which is the QR code that is on the t-shirt. So the t-shirt has the saying and a QR code. So when you use the technology on reading the QR,
Mm-hmm.
then it brings you to the explanation of the Dirac's equation. The Dirac's equation in this case, that's going to be a series of five, I think we have set for five science quotations there, pieces of knowledge there, and then we'll do different series. But the ingredients is the technology that through fashion we can spread the knowledge, that we use fashion to teach, that
Mm.
is not only to look nice, which we all want to look nice and comfortable with the pieces that we wear, but that also that they have some meaning, that it has some good, that we can teach and learn something from it. So as a vehicle of knowledge through
Mm.
technology,
I
which is
like that. The
you.
vehicle of knowledge,
So the QR is the technology that gets through fashion that conveys the knowledge.
the message.
And the Dirac's equation is the most beautiful equation in quantum physics, and that it says that two molecules they have been together at one point in time, after they are separated, they are conceived being of the same in the same system, because at one point they were connected, even though they have lighting years apart. For humans, we say that is love. So
Yes.
when you read the code, it brings you to our page, the t-shirt telling,
Mm-hmm.
and tells you, the story. It's in English and in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I would have never learned the equation, Dirac's equation of the waves, because that's, well, there is explained a little bit better. If it weren't for this, I would have never knew who Dirac was or what was the equation of the waves of Dirac. And now I can say I learned it. you know, this is the idea to use the knowledge this way. And also the other aspect that brings is socializing. If you have that in your t-shirt, someone can ask you, it's a piece of conversation. You can start conversation about it. If we go to places, we found people
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, I
sitting
totally
one
know.
in front
On their
of the
phones.
other.
Yeah, not connected, very
Yeah,
disconnected. Yeah.
sitting one in front of the other, and each one in their phones. This way you can ask, you can have your conversation. It gives you, and you're not talking about something like this, talking about something nice, a piece of science, and that brings science closer to people in a way, in that series. So this is a series that we're going to do in science. Then we want to do also musics, and also things that will help people, and that will enrich us a little bit more.
You know what really resonates about this particular series, which is very related to exactly what you're describing around this quantum physics equation, which I actually wasn't familiar with that particular equation. So I thank you for teaching me that, because it makes a lot more sense, because I understand around the concept of holism in relation to the sum of all parts. And then also in knowing about Plato's Symposium. And I mean, there's all of these sort of really interesting synergistic, it really is about synergy at the end of the day, but just
Mhm.
in reading that. And then I've had a sort of a quiet interest in this particular subject, and I've tapped into it in different ways in my own world. So I just really wanted to highlight that. It's a really important component, because we aren't talking about the science in relation to so many different aspects. And we're kind of experiencing that now, even with how the pandemic is unfolding in a global way, which is a totally different conversation. And I don't want to go down that road, but I do want to come back to your new collection that's posted in relation to the Abbey Road dress, because I think it's a really interesting combination of materials. So can you tell us more about that particular collection?
Yes, this that was part of one of the first collections that I did, and that particular one, when we had all this turmoil in the EU with the UK being in and being
With
out,
Brexit, yeah.
the Brexit, so that was
Yeah.
going to be the Brexit dress. And then I thought, well, might as well that the connotation be a little bit more like the Imagine of John Lennon type of
Yeah,
thing,
I love it.
instead of separating, but that we use fashion to unite us in a way. And I think that combination of materials, we have the canvas, the jute of the coffee bag, combined with cotton. That is a cotton, and it has that nice printing. But I like the meaning of the print that it has behind, because it's not a gratuity. It has a meaning, it has the meaning of the moment, as fashion is also a reflect of what is going around us. What do we recycle now more than ever? Because we are up till here of pollution and residues, and the world is finishing in resources,
Mm-hmm.
and we have all these problematic, no? So now let's recycle, because it's a fashion. Well, no, it's becoming a fashion because it's a necessity, it's a need. We need to recycle all the resources that we have with us right now. The materials are among us, and we know we have clear problems, and it is the climate change that we have right now, and that is cause of all the natural resources and raw materials that we are pulling and pulling and pulling, and all these production processes that are polluting the air and the waters and stuff. And then we create these things that we buy more than ever, and we use less than ever. So that creates a lot of things that we threw away in a much
Yes.
faster way. So we need to find the solution to all these things. We have that part of the recycling there, the coffee bag, and then we have that part of the British flag, our dear Abbey Road dress,
Yeah.
will reflects a little bit of that time of change. Let's see, change.
But the thing that I really liked about how you described this particular piece is it is a symbol of unification. And I mean, obviously, unfortunate with the way that things have unfolded in and around Brexit, but it sends a strong message for what you wanted to say within that. But I also think when it comes to what you're doing with this material resource, because of its lineage and the fact of where these materials have geographically, where they've traveled in order to come into your hands, I'm curious to know, how has this material resource informed other materials that you've worked with? I know that you work with other sort of organic materials.
Mhm.
How has that informed your design process?
I think the youth, the coffee bags and the youth like to travel. There's moments that where it travels alone, like the jacket. You see that jacket
Yeah, I
behind
can. And
me?
I'll make, for people that are just listening to the audio of this, then I'll make that available online.
There you have the
Yeah,
jacket
and you have a dress. Is that correct? Is that what I'm
and
seeing? Yeah.
the dress.
Yeah, it's
But
beautiful.
those have story behind.
Hmm.
Everything everything
Of
has a
course.
story,
Of course.
because we always say, or I want to think that fashion is not an empty thing here in my house,
Mm.
like many of the fast fashion that we have there.
Hmm.
Fashion has to be, or the items that we make, that transmit knowledge, that transmits skills, that transmits something that is useful in a certain way. So the jacket that you see there, for example,
Hmm.
that will answer a little bit your question of how that blends the coffee bag with other materials. That is, let me bring it here. Here we have coffee bag recycle. Here
Hmm.
we have organic cotton.
Hmm.
And here we have hand wave. This is a hand wave.
So it's
And
hand woven. Is that it's almost like a you've got some hand spun yarn to give it
mhm,
that those slubs, that texture. It's
that
beautiful.
is alpaca from Australia, from
Ah, okay.
Suho, from
Okay, okay, yeah.
Suha Mills in Perth.
Yes.
And then we have, this is made with a four petal,
A loom.
yes, a four petal wooden loom. It was made here. And I think I have some videos of it. I will share them
See,
with
yeah,
you
send me the links. I think it'd be great to
so
share that.
you
Absolutely.
can see it. And I said, I have a friend, Rosa, a weaver, and I says, why can we weave with my residues from here and the residues that you have, and we can also use the alpaca, but let's not make the alpaca. Let's not how you say
You
to
wanted to have it unspun or loosely spun?
yes,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yeah.
use it as it is, and see if we put it on the, and then at the time that we press it, see how it turns, and it turned to be very nice. I mean, look at that.
Because the way that you've obviously alternated the waste materials that you were just
Uh-huh.
describing, this fabric combines the raw fleece from Perth, Australia, then waste materials from your studio, so the residuals left over from your studio, and
Mhm.
followed by what was the third material? Can you remind me?
We have rest materials, leftover materials that we
Yep.
have.
Yep.
When we cut the materials, I have
Yep.
a box there and I put them in there.
Hmm.
So even though the pieces are small, what we need to is tear them in little
Little
pieces, and
pieces.
then
Yep.
we can
Little
even put
fragments.
notes
Yep.
on that, and
Hmm.
then we can put on the
You
width.
weave them into the
Exactly.
weft of the
Exactly.
fabric.
When I send you the video, you will see it, because I think I have some pieces where you can see the material and the
How you've
alpaca.
interlaid that and combined.
And then it turned out to be very nice. So the idea is, I use waste material. How can I, from this waste material that I generate, make a new material, and in a traditional way, which
Using a
is
traditional method. Yep. Hmm.
and make a beautiful piece of garment that I can work with it again. So it's like working the material till we have 100% use of it.
Yes. Fantastic.
So, and then here we have the combination. We have the combination of the used coffee bag, then the combination of these made with organic alpaca in the middle with less materials,
It's,
left materials
yeah.
from our studios, and then we have the organic cotton here. So
Mhm.
that's how we combine things. In order to, and then in the inside, because a lot of people said, oh,
Or the scratchiness of the burlap, so
so
they're fully lined.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we try to make it, pieces are fully lined. So the idea is to combine all these things together and to bring techniques that enhance the give, the provide value, add value to our pieces and to the youth that is considered a residue at the beginning. No, so we did embroidery. I did embroidery. I did
So
needle
you,
felt.
yep, needle felting. Yep.
I did natural stones. We put natural stones in a piece, so that way, if that goes to waste, then you have all natural materials on it.
Mm-hmm.
The jute is natural, the natural stones, and also natural stones bring their own power. Like the green amethysta. We have different stones there
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
their own energy. So those good energies are placed on the garment, which is placed on you.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it has all this positive energy, bringing with
No, I
all
think that's a great solution.
all the piece to wear. So it is good for the environment, and is it good for the person that wears it, and
Mm-hmm.
for the person that sews as well.
Makes things more unified. Coming back to unification, what you said earlier when it comes to putting the love into the work that you're doing, when you are considering all the details and using natural stones, or they're also referred to as crystals, as a form of adornment in a way where traditional beading of
Mm-hmm.
materials, but traditionally you would have used those natural stones or crystals in various forms. And I'm curious though, when it comes to working with waste textiles and as a designer and knowing this and knowing the inherent challenges when it comes to working with an inconsistent resource and never knowing what you're going to get, what challenges have you encountered?
Here it was the challenge to learn first how to use this residue, this waste material properly,
So the
and
material development and knowing
yeah,
what applications work best and
how to handle it, because a lot of people were using that before
yep.
as complements, like to make handbags, bags.
Accessories. Yes, accessories. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was already done. That was not a challenge. It was easy. So I needed, how
Right.
can I use it in a higher form? How can I give it more value? What if I do a wedding dress? What if I do a cocktail dress? How if I do a suit? How those are was challenge, because it was considered just to make bags or shopping bags or
Mm-hmm.
things like this, and like, no, 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 no. I want to make a jacket like the one you see.
It's
You know,
beautiful. Yeah.
I want to learn how to do other things. In the other piece that you see there on that one, we bring
Oh,
that back.
behind you? Yeah, I see that. The dress.
This, what it has there in the middle, it has that, you see, the in line
Mm-hmm.
there is the painting,
And
but
I can
and
see it
here
there
in
with
the
closer
jacket,
detail. Yes. I
this
definitely have
painting.
to share this with the audience. Yes, yeah,
Uh,
it's very a unique detail.
and this is hand painted. This is the original drawing. This is,
Okay.
the idea is to have art, that you are wearing art with you, and we have the art of couture with the art of painting together, because I
Mm-hmm.
consider couture as an art, as a
Oh, it
form
is.
of
No
art,
question.
and the painting is also. So in here you see there's the signature
Of
of
the artist.
the artist, and that is
Beautiful.
Ivana Francesca, which I
Mm-hmm.
can also share the information of
Yes, please
her.
do. Yes.
And so that's when we put here, you see,
Yeah, that
is the continuation of the head on the
yes.
other side. And this is the original painting. This is the original painting and is signed. So it has this artistic value behind it also.
Well, it's a collector's piece, right? Because
Mhm.
you're integrating
Uh-huh.
artist's work in with your work that really does actually speak to, when it comes to building the community that's very necessary for a circular economy. We do need to find different and alternative, methods and modes to make things more collectively incumbent of everything. It just can't be just one material solution. We actually need to be unifying all these different key players
Uh-huh.
within the community, right? To produce
So
something that I think, coming back to what I mentioned earlier, I think you're producing something that's very uniquely from Barcelona, so that when someone comes to visit there or pick up one of your pieces, I see that relationship, the local textiles, the localism that you are inserting within your whole creative process is allowing for it to exist in a way that's no different than the localism that we experience when we have a wine from a certain region. You're creating the local wine version of that. It's something that I've been observing and thinking about for quite some time, because it's one of those things. Clothing lasts a lot longer than a bottle of wine. It's wonderful, but it's an ephemeral experience, whereas clothing is something that we develop deep relationships with, and we embody, and they can grow with us,
mhm.
and if we know how to alter them, if we do grow in that way. But yeah, but at the same time, there is a sense of value and place with your work and how you're directing that. You are working with a really interesting mix of artists, designers, and craftspeople. Do you have any other future
Yeah,
collaborations?
yeah, I want to show you. You
Those are
see,
great hangers, by the way. What are those hangers? Are there
those are cardboard.
are they recycled cardboard?
Yeah, they're made in Valencia.
In
This one
Valencia. Oh,
particular.
very cool.
So they are easy because they're no weight. So if you have to go somewhere with your collection, they fall flat into like a piece of paper almost.
Mm-hmm.
And you no volume, no weight, and recyclable.
Oh,
Again,
fantastic. I
recyclable
love
is.
seeing stuff like that. Oh,
Here we have ceramics in this.
beautiful. What
So
kind of ceramic? Is that like a terracotta?
that was a special technique that the artist in my webpage there is a press note that is called Synergy of the Arts,
Okay,
and we
yep.
have all the artists description and details there
Okay,
for
great.
ceramics.
Oh, great. I'll
And
make that link available.
yeah, and this is a special. She explained it to me. They have a horse's hair in there as well, so it's like a very special piece
Oh, no
there.
kidding. I mean, the fact that she's embedded organic materials such as horsehair.
Top, and that was in Australia. Then that was Amparo Garcia. That was the artist. Oh, they're
Okay.
all local artists. Here, this particular one, this is glass beads.
Okay, those are glass beads.
Hmm. And they're like coffee beans. They
Oh,
are made like
yeah,
coffee
of
beans.
course. Yes. Ah, well, especially with the coffee bean that's imprinted on for
Uh-huh.
those people that can't see this right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the this is an artist called Yolanda Pibernat. She's also from here in Castelldefels, and she works beautiful the crystal, beautiful pieces of crystal that she does. And for in this format, then we could use them here in this piece. She's also on that information on that note. And then here I have some embroidery.
Oh, it's beautiful. Is that done by, is that machine embroidery?
No, no, this is hand
So it
embroidery.
is hand embroidery. I was wondering, I couldn't quite see from,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And this
Beautiful.
I made myself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You see, and
Fabulous. Can I just, because I'm seeing the slight inside of the garment. Are you signing the garments? Are you writing inside the garment? I was just trying to see, like, just in the,
well, what do you mean if I put the signature?
I can see now it's actually the part of the original print that exists on the
Oh,
coffee bag
oh
because
yeah.
I couldn't quite see if it was something that was
This
handprinted or,
one is another because there were two
oh,
tops.
geez, that's beautiful.
But that's the original coffee back print.
Stunning, isn't it? I think
Mm-hmm.
there's something to be said about how you're capturing the form of collaboration that you're creating with the traditional prints that are on these materials in relation to the unique traditional prints that are being layered on top of it, whether it's through the beading or with the hand painting, is
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah, and the back we have laces. Laces are cotton. This is made of cotton. How you call cinta?
is it a bias tape or is it a ribbon?
It's a ribbon.
It's a ribbon. Okay.
Yeah, it has a reason because that way I don't have to use zippers or we don't use buttons, you know.
I do know how challenging it is to find sustainable solutions when it comes to trims. And
Exactly.
so the fact that you're also simplifying not just the construction of your garments, but you're streamlining it. So,
So this is the way they can be adjusted well to
yeah,
every
it's
up to the body,
exactly.
and we don't use any zippers. And you know, if we use this way, I mean, sometimes we have to use zippers, but if I
It's
can
just a,
avoid, I
yeah,
try not to put any plastic or any, you know, any steel or anything that is not natural.
that's not
So that
going to biodegrade with the rest of your
and
garments. And the thing I really like about the simplicity and versatility of your pieces is you could throw that over top of your black shirt right now and
yes,
you could layer it and the fact that you've taken care of all these simple details, I just have to say that there's a timelessness that you are creating with the silhouettes that you're producing that when it comes to the perception of upcycled and recycled clothing, there isn't sometimes that level of care that I
yeah.
think that you are imparting into these materials and in collaboration with artists and craftspeople that you're working with. Which brings me to my next question. Is there anything about this material resource or the act of upcycling itself that continues to surprise you in some way?
Yeah, I think that there's still some more road to go with it and to discover a few more applications of and techniques with it. This has been just the beginning, you know, with embroidery, the crystal, the painting, and that, and there are a few things in line that we want to develop. Also, this way is you said the limitations
Hmm.
before. You know what limitations we have? Well, we have the limitations of the bag, the dimensions of the bag. I mean, I don't have meters and meters. I have
Set.
the coffee bags you see on that
Yeah, I can see them hanging off your table
hanging
there. Yep.
there.
Yes, I can.
Those
Yep.
are clean and ready to use. They have a width and they have a length.
And
This
that's
is it.
it. Yeah.
So, and you have to really put your imagination to work. And I always say, and it's true, it's a lot of people say it, if you see it in your mind, you can see it in your hands afterward because you've
Yes.
made it, no?
Yes.
And I've never considered the dimensions of the coffee bag to be a limitation. I consider it to be a challenge. What do I do? And but we did the long skirt with coffee bags, and we just have to add them, make sure that we know how to do it right and knit it, so it's all very that you don't notice, where are the additions and stuff, and how do it with grace, with elegance, so the piece turns out to be beautiful. And so that's one of the limitations that, and in upcycling in general, you need to, and also for the work that you do, you have to put creation, to press that creativity in your mind, put it to work, in a full mode, no, full speed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, you set the limitation, and if I reach, all the ways to deal with this material, no, there are a few more ways that I can use this material, which that will be, discovered in the future, and then collections, and also now is used in a small scale. What is the objective? The objective is fashion. No, fashion is a consequence. The objective is to use a residue material, take it out of the garbage, giving it a new life and a continuous new life ahead. That is the use of waste. And fashion came along. Fashion was a vehicle to use this material. Not the fashion found the other one. I started the other way around.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, the emphasis is that. So if the impact is with the environment to take that residue out of there and make it as prime raw material again, doing it this way is limited. I can use with this craft and artisanal methodology, my impact of kilograms of used coffee bags is going to be limited. So in order to make a bigger impact, I need to scale. We need to scale in a
That's
way.
correct. That's one of the biggest challenges I know right now.
Uh-huh. So now, in order to do that, we need to industrialize this material and how to convert it. And that's what I'm working on at this moment. On that second step of how to scale it up in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
in recycle the fiber, and see if the impact can be bigger. So we still have more to go on this material.
But through that, the material development during your research and development phase that's ongoing, clearly, are there particular techniques in the immediate that you're planning to further develop with the coffee bags?
Yes, on the origin, at the origin, because what we say in circular economy, the main point is in eco design. So if we eco design those bags properly from the very beginning,
Got you.
or in a
Yes, I
certain
see what you
way,
mean. Yes, yes, yes.
then we can assure that is gonna go. So if I go to the origin and I envision a long way and I plan for that to have, so now I'm working on that project. I cannot reveal you too much because I'm
No, that's
I'm
fine. No,
actually
but I think that's a
work on this at the present time I'm right on this one, and also on the project to scale in more in an industrial way. So those are
oh,
the two
fantastic. So you've got
projects.
two new directions, like
Mhm.
dealing with the origin, the original resource, the manufacturers that are producing these sacks. So there will be a conversation between it's not really pre-consumer waste, but you're actually going to be involved in or instrumental in the milling of this material for the of a new wave of production for this, but then also still dealing with the waste product. That's a huge project because obviously you're dealing with various different countries and when it comes to where your coffee sacks come from, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think it does take one collaboration, one partnership to showcase to other parts of the industry that are producing this jute fabric to adapt their practices so that they are producing something that is reusable rather than this idea of disposability when it comes to manufacturing.
Then on one of the projects, there's minimum transformation along the line, and the other one has total transformation,
Yeah,
of
the thing that I love about it is you've gone through this process and now you're reverse engineering it. So I think that's a really a beautiful way of creating a new future. Because that's one of my questions, like where do you see the future of this industry heading and working with this? Because ultimately there are different ways where we're eliminating waste in the manufacturing process, and as well
Mhm.
as eliminating materials, thankfully certain materials, but at the same time there is a material revolution going on. So
Yes.
yeah, and so I just wanted to ask you, like, what knowledge gap or misconception do you think exists around your work in working with coffee bags, but also just in upcycling as well?
I think that this culture that we have, make, use, and throw away, is a big challenge for all of us, no? And for the consumer, is like, how do we transform what we have? It can be beautiful. You as a designer can also do beautiful pieces with upcycling, beautiful creations. There in Australia, in Eco Fashion Week Australia, they have actually Marilyn presented the upcycling challenge, and it's beautiful. And I think that
That
in
was Marilyn
school,
Wilson. Yeah,
uh
yeah.
this is not being taught in the schools. And also eco design and upcycling, I think, needs to be taught more in schools.
I long felt when it comes to sustainability that the concepts, if we want to be able to have and create the cultural shift that is necessary for us to move forward as a species, that it should be taught and start very early on in its infancy in kindergarten in every way, shape, and form. I agree there does need to be an integration of exactly what you just said, the upcycling, but just being aware of our resources.
Yeah, and another challenge is the barrier, no, that the mind barrier that the customers have, that the general public has, of using recycled materials. First thing they say about my work without knowing it, like, oh, you use coffee bags, then that itches. Well, you know, it might itch a little bit if you touch on the outside, but I think we need to open our minds more, actually experience, and then we can take a decision if we want it or not want it, if we like it or don't like it. But we need to be open-minded to at least get to know all these works from all these professionals that we do upcycling and use these other unconventional materials, no, that we have been recuperated.
I think aside from what you are championing in and around working with this specific material resource, who do you think is doing meaningful work that's really engaging, the current material revolution that's going on right now?
I think the research that is being done, new fibers and textiles using residual materials, I think is great. I think this is a very good thing. How they did, for example, the orange fiber, or they did the apple
Food waste.
leather.
Yes.
I think those things are great. That inspires me to go with this project and try to do something with, to take this material that I use a step farther on scaling it on the impact. I think those are very good examples for me. Also, the silk made of the protein of milk, the milky
I
one,
know.
that one. All, I think all those are great examples, and more are coming, because we are creating so much waste. And the thing is that the waste of natural products of agriculture, for example, that we create a lot of waste there, that the pits from the olive pits also, they make materials
I
with.
haven't heard of that one. I'm going to have to look that up. That sounds
Mhm.
really interesting.
They did some plastic or something with it, so they can make stuff with that.
Like for packaging or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, that was a new one. And the wine, the grapes,
Yes, I've heard that
from
as well. Yes,
from
yes,
grapes,
yes.
they doing leather from grapes, also from the
From the
residual of
skin.
making wine.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that makes
exactly.
sense.
So I think those are great discoveries, and we have young people researching. That is when we really open our mind, because to have everyone conscious is difficult right now with too many people on earth. Many of us are, directed to what attracts you, what is nice, no? And even though you and me are in the sustainable and circular, and that's what we breathe every day, not
Yeah.
everyone is like that,
No.
and
We are specialists.
and so it is on our side and on our responsibility to make products that are responsible and to develop materials that are not polluting and that they can be recuperated and recyclable. And because when you go and buy something, you're gonna look at if it's nice, if it fits you well, and if it's comfortable, no?
Hmm.
And if that covers all these needs, and then you will see, oh, and it's recyclable, yeah, and it comes from, no, that will come. You're not gonna go straight to something because it's recycled or is sustainable, no? It's the design is you might go with my exception. I'm an exception.
Yeah.
You might go and see because this is, this is burlap, it's making, then it attracts the attention, and then they say, oh, and it's nice and it fits well, and it, I managed to give that turn to that approach, no, that we just said, for the material that I use, and that is a challenge. All those innovations, this research and all that, I think is essential, and it's essential that goes to the schools, and that the professors are prepared with all these sustainable and circular principles, and so they have to be updated in all areas, so we can teach, correctly our students without forgetting this important approach, because it's not an alternative. It has to be that way, or I mean, we see the way that we're going with this pandemic. That has been just a little alert of what can come if we don't change. So eco design is not an option. Eco design is it. When you learn design, that's what you need to learn.
Absolutely. I think that it's one of those issues that it isn't taught or threaded through the entire education of it. I think there are some programs that are trying to create that shift, but still, there's still a long road in and around that. What else do you want people to know about your work?
That first, it's never late to start with a project if you really want to do something to bring to the change. I started this project late in life. That never stopped me to do it. We think that for the little things that we do will not make a difference, and yes, they all make a difference because we add them up, like a mountain is made of a lot of stones and little sand, all adds up to make something big. So we all have to try on our daily life. If you think, a light, recycling the garbage, all that adds up. And to support all your local designers and the local producers, and the small, in this time, we see how many small businesses we have suffered a lot, and we need to give the support to the community. So we have seen also how with this problem, how to take the production thousands of kilometers away has affected the way that we needed the mask, we needed the protection for the hospitals, we needed all these things, and what, they have to wait 30 days to get those productions here. Or we've seen how important if to keep part of our industry and to give the support. One of the sentences that we have on our webpage and that we truly believe is that if the cloth that we wear has an impact on the society and the environment we are in, then we have to make that choice very wisely, so the impact is a positive one.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I do want to mention before we get to the last part quickly is I didn't want to forget this because I know that in your journey and how you came into working with this material resource, that several years ago you established an organization with 5 of your colleagues that
Mm-hmm.
really has been instrumental in your trajectory, not just as a designer, but spearheading a consciousness throughout Spain and globally, I think, as well. But initially in your country and in your community to bring more consciousness and awareness around sustainability and practices and the importance of this very necessary shift that we need to make in relationship to our materials and
Mm-hmm.
our clothing. And so, can you just tell us quickly what that is and what your role is today? Because of your role as an ambassador in the circular economy, both locally and globally, I think it's important to address this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the Association of Sustainable Fashion Barcelona. That was the first one. It was created here in Spain that had a life of its own, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we started six of us, so, me with five colleagues. We wanted to form our community, what it was sustainable fashion, what was important, and how we needed to support this. New way of producing and a new way of creating and consuming fashion. That was very difficult at the beginning. We had to knock many doors to be heard and to
Mm-hmm.
get support. And it was a non-profit, a totally voluntary association. I was the president for 4 years. Then after that, then I decided, because I love the subject a lot, so I spent more time doing things for the association than developing my brand. And it got a point where I needed to,
To be in the studio.
yeah, yeah, and to develop a little bit my project, because that was going very, very slowly, developing a little bit here and there. So that required a lot of my attention as well. So after 4 years, I think that was good volunteering there. Also, I think you always need new blood, and I think it is a very good experience for everyone to be in a non-profit organization and
I
give
agree.
that the support and all that, because that really comes out from your heart. When you do those things are really because you believe in them, you really want to make a difference, and you want to bring things to your community, have a positive impact, and to inform about all those good things, no, that we believe in. So I think in 4 years I did a good. I hope I did a good work, a good job on it. It was very difficult to
To step away.
to step away, and now, well, I'm in touch, but in more in the shadow. No, I'm part of the history on that association. But I'm very active on circular economy, and I'm in different organizations also for circular economy. Also, I'm always available for the association for anything that they require, anything that I can help, anything that I can add. I'm always there and following, and always available to give a hand whenever is required. But I'm really into circular economy now, developing all that.
I mean, obviously, all the work that you were doing with that organization that you helped co-found was a stepping stone where you became an ambassador, and that was acquired through it. And I'm just looking at my notes. It's the Advanced Leadership Foundation, and
Yes. Uh-huh.
it's also supported and recognized by the former President Barack Obama. So I
Yes.
thought
Oh,
that
that's
was,
great. Oh,
did you get a chance to meet him?
that was for the whole year. At the end, then he came to Madrid for all the leaders that we formed, that Advanced Leadership Association. He came and talked to all of us there in Madrid, and I was meters from him, listening. It
Fantastic,
was great. It was.
inspiring.
He's a great person, great ambassador for the circular economy and Juan Verde, and it was a great experience. And that's where I was an ambassador, for circular economy, and talk in many places for that. That was a great experience. Great experience. Very happy.
And what an amazing way to participate and be part of this global movement in a way that, as I said earlier in my introduction of you, your work and what you're doing is championing and motivating the awareness that's very necessary around residual and waste textiles, but also how we can look at implementing the circular economy through not just your waste material resource, but in ways that's going to actually signal and amplify other ways and other pathways for other people to adopt it or and consider it as part
Yeah.
of that integrated system. So I really admire that you have aligned yourself in that way.
Mhm. Because one thing, Catherine, that I notice is that a lot of those that talk about circular economy are consultants, which never had
Correct.
a textile business, for example, or anything.
Yes.
Then or others are, that only have been on the practical side. So you have those that have been on the theory side and those that has been on the practical side. But I haven't met anyone that does both. And I want to be part of those that do both. Is that
Absolutely.
if I go and talk about it, then I can show you, says, and this is how I did it, you know this is how I did it. This is
Mhm.
how I applied here. This is how I developed. And you have the theory and you have the practice together. We can all find a residue. I found one, and this is how I'm doing. Those are the principles that I teach, and this is how I apply them here. And I have the theory and the practice together.
How I can relate to that just briefly in responding to that is like I consider myself a practitioner educator because everything that I was developing over an 18-year time period in my studio, I was bringing in real time into the classroom with students. And that was a really good way for me to obviously to work things out, but also share that knowledge, right? And so it's had impact on a small seedling kind of way, but at the same time, what you're describing is so very important to allow for this to get completely motivated and integrated because there isn't enough practitioner knowledge in the field right now. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is one of the biggest gaps because, I hear different arguments from educators and industry people around I don't want to say that they discredit the circular economy, but just that there are different opinions about it and how it can be successful. And I think because there's a lack of practitioner knowledge and experience that's being embedded into it to kind of really bring the breadth and the motivation that actually needs to happen to make it real.
It is. And I mean, in part of it, because it's a new system, of course, there's not that many people that then apply it, not even 100% because our system is not ready for 100% of circular economy. There are many factors and many players in the supply chain, and we all need to be in the same chain. But I think that and if you are like me, that we attend a lot of webinars, that we listen to a lot of people, because I think we all learn. I have to learn every day a little bit more before I go to bed. So I like to listen to people. And the thing is that I heard many things, always the same thing. Here and here, blah, 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 again. And everyone says, did you try? Did you apply? No, yes. Tell me who does. Give me a good example. Don't give me an example of 1,000 kilometers. Give me an example here. Can this apply here? Because by application, we can see where the system fails or what do we need to do and what are all these pieces that we need to refine, or where are maybe we're trying a route and it's not that one. We need to make modifications. We need the recycling collection, we need the processes, we need we need all these things. It's like, for example, I want to recycle. Why don't I put buttons and zippers because I made the effort to go at the end of the recycling line and talk to the people that do the recycling of the clothing, and they say, oh, these zippers and these buttons are really a hassle because it's a waste of time. And then I have to try to make garments that try not to use them because at the end of the life it makes a problem. So but we need to walk the road in order to have a better understanding, to make it better and to learn, try and error.
Yes, and I think one key thing that I want to pull from that is that it's being able to teach other people around aspects of adaptability. And I think one thing that is something that is a challenge right now is that with certain traditional business models, there isn't the idea of adaptability or room for error is not, it's not a comfort zone, and it's not an area that people are willing to put their businesses in. But at the same time, if your business doesn't exist anymore because you didn't learn to adapt, then that really says something. And the way I look at things too is, as an entrepreneur, and I've been involved in education, but been an entrepreneur all my life. And the key thing is when you think like an entrepreneur, even if you're not going to be an entrepreneur, it teaches you how to problem solve and adapt. Because I mean, the fact that I have my design training too is allowed for me to circumvent things and find solutions in areas that traditional entrepreneurs may not. And I think you're the same in that regard, and especially in knowing your background and the way that you are looking to solve and implement these systems that work
Mhm.
together from the end to the beginning to the end. And but there's one thing I just want to quickly say, because I again, yeah, we've talked way longer than I anticipated, which is wonderful, but I know I've taken up a ton of your time. But what was formulating as you were talking about the challenges is that you, to me, vocalize something that needs to be said. You set forth what I view as a challenge for other designers out there. If you're going to think about the circular economy, how are you going to implement this? Like, what material are you going to try and sort of solve a problem with? But we do need to look at waste streams and waste diversion. I think it's inherent in everything. So how are you going to implement circular process within your design practice, within your creative process? How are you going to allow for the cycle of life and the cycle of creativity to continue? Because there isn't just a beginning and an end. It isn't as finite as that. It's been taught that this doesn't exist. Energy just doesn't end. That's the way I look at it. It doesn't end.
Mhm.
It just shape shifts and changes depending on how it's been transformed, right? So I like the fact you not only challenge yourself, but you're actually challenging other people too. You're in a really valuable position. And so I thank you for all the work that you're doing,
Thank
really
you.
and truthfully. But I just want to briefly, because I know again I've taken
Mhm.
so much of your time. I asked all my guests to share a meaningful textile that they have a story or relationship with, because the one thing that I've learned in my years, we all have a story and a connection to something. That's the one thing that I think is missing, is a better understanding as to why we have these relationships to materials, because it's often devalued and disregarded when there's people that say, oh, don't have an interest in fashion. Well, actually, you do. That sweatshirt that you wear all the time, you wear that all the time for a reason, right? It's not, yes, it's for protection, yes, there's practical reasons, I totally get that. But it was always interesting when I asked students to bring something to share as a part of their introduction, the relationships and the bonds and the conversations that came. And I've seen lifelong friendships develop, but it also taught us about culture and their creative identity in ways that they wouldn't have been able to articulate. And so I'm just trying to hold space for more meaningful conversations around our materials and our relationship with clothing, because they are very much a huge part of our daily experience and our total existence as humans from birth to death. So please share with us, what is your meaningful textile?
Well, this one is my mom's wedding dress.
I know, and I'll share the picture to the audience. Yes.
I have it in one of the wardrobe there in a box with very carefully kept because I want to make a replica of it for me, an adaptation of it. But I don't want to dismantle that one. No, it is done so beautifully, and it's handmade very nicely by one of the tailors of that time, and you can see how it has been put together with the stitches and stuff. So
Is it
you
all hand stitched
is
or a
part of it.
combination? Yeah, yeah,
Part
okay.
of it, yeah. The hems
Yes.
before all the hands were done by hand. Maybe the seams were by like a machine like the one that you have next to you. I love Bernina
Yeah, I
very
didn't
much.
mean to, yeah.
We're crazy about machines.
I know.
But all the hems are you can tell that is
It's
handly
all hand
all the
stitched, yeah.
hem. And that has a story, that has a handmade, the material is a very special thing. So that is something that I'm very glad that my mom
She
gave it
gave
to
to you.
me. Too bad I cannot fit in there yet. I'm working on it.
Yes, no, you always say yet. I
Yeah.
I like the way you think about that. And I just want to share quickly. We have a very similar. I mean, there's a lot of similarities that I really value and I appreciate. In getting to know you and your story and your work in general. But I also have my mom's wedding dress, and so my mom's British and my father's Canadian, and so my parents were married here in England, and my mom's dress was actually made by one of the Queen's dressmakers. So she
Oh.
gave it to me. I don't fit into it right now either. So I will fit into it in the
Mm-hmm.
at some point. I hope to wear it someday. But it's wonderful when you're able to have those really important gifts that are inherited.
Yeah.
And it really is quite special. So I feel very fortunate too to have this simple but elegant and handcrafted dress. I know that there was a long train with it that she made. I have three sisters, and I'm the youngest of five.
Mhm.
And she took the train of the wedding dress and made christening dresses for my two eldest sisters. But it's still a beautiful dress.
Those
But
are little treasures that we keep.
yes, and so I'm so glad that you managed to, take the time out of your busy day to speak with me. And
Thank you. Me
I
too.
I cannot wait to see what you continue to do with what you're doing. I think things will move a lot faster than you think.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed conversation with
Yeah,
you.
likewise. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of The Material Revolution. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or perhaps you may want to suggest a topic, material innovation, or an expert that you would like to hear on an upcoming episode, please reach out to us via email at info@thematerialrevolution.com, or you can contact us through any of our social media channels. If you haven't done so already and have enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe to the show via Apple Podcasts or from any platform that you're choosing to listen to this from. We would appreciate it if you could rate, review, and help us spread the word by sharing this podcast with friends. And if you would like to support this podcast further, consider visiting our Patreon page and make a pledge. You can do this by accessing the link that's located in the episode notes of this podcast, or you can visit our website or any of our social media channels where we will have that link made available. Well, that concludes our show for today. We hope that you left this episode feeling more curious about what can be done with textiles. Music for this podcast is provided by Interior Design, composed by Rob Mathrew. If you dig it and you want to hear more, please visit the link included in the show notes or visit our website for more information about his work. You can also find images from today's episode located on our website, www.thematerialrevolution.com, and other show highlights are available on our Instagram, Facebook page, and YouTube channel.